Happy New Year. Welcome to our 22nd meeting of the year. As is our norm, we'd like for you all to take about 5 minutes to meet and greet your fellow Rotarians and guests, and then we'll reconvene with our prayer from KARL van BIEBERSTEIN. Thank you. Good morning, Rotarians. Good afternoon, Rotarians. If you all will find your seats and remain standing. Yeah, no, I want you to stand up. Go back, go find your seats, and let's get this party started. I would like for you all, before we say a prayer, there's a little bit of we care activity we need to take care of this morning. First of all, Bill Sleeper over the last couple of weeks has been ill, and I think we're hoping he'll be going home. Either he went home yesterday or he's going to be dismissed to go home tomorrow. But keep Bill and Micah in your prayers. Also, I think some of you might have seen some word that Eric Heitkamp's father passed away on the 4th. Those arrangements are pending, but do keep the Heitkamp family in your prayers as well. And Jill Jordan's mother, Mary, passed away 2 days ago, is that right? Back in December. And that was on top of her dad passing in November. So keep Jill's family and her and her husband in your prayers as well. Are there any other announcements? What other kind of bad news can we put on this?
Carl, my wife Jan is back in the hospital again.
Oh no.
She entered the hospital last Sunday morning, suspected stroke. It is not a stroke. It was a very severe UTI and also lung infection. She had significant heart arrhythmia. The blood pressure went down as low as 41/20. high as 211, over 184. They've got all that stuff stable again. She may be moving to CC Young tomorrow to begin a couple
Rehab.
weeks of rehabbing her.
And when did
So
this
keep her-
happen, John? When did this happen?
Last
Last Sunday.
Sunday of this week.
Well,
New Year's Day.
New Year's Day. Wonderful. Any other reports for our members? Well, please, you all keep all these people in your prayers as we move into the new year, and if you'll bow with me as we pray. O God of Abraham, Muhammad, and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, thank you that you make all things new. Thank you for all that good you allowed into our lives this past year, the good along with the bad things. You have reminded us how much we need you and your presence filling us each and every single day. We pray for your Spirit to lead us each step of this new year. We ask that you guide our decisions and turn our hearts to deeply desire you above all else. We ask for your wisdom, for your strength and power to be constantly present within us. We pray you would make us strong and courageous for the road ahead. Give us ability beyond what we feel able, and let your gifts flow freely through us so that you would be honored by our lives and the work we do as Rotarians. Shine your light in us, through us, over us. May we make a difference in our community and this world for your glory and purposes, and to that work reflect your peace and hope to a world that so desperately needs your presence and healing. To you be honor and glory as this new year and forever. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by our national anthem. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. See by the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare above bursting air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Hey, thanks for following along. Before you get seated, let's do one more thing for the Happy New Year. Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and days of old lang syne? For old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet for old lang syne. Happy New Year. All right, it's time to express our joys, things we're happy about. And you know what? You know I'm a big football fan, and I'm an Oklahoma State guy. We ended poorly, but I'm so excited that TCU is going to represent the Big 12 in our area next week in the national championship.
Yes. Go Horned Frogs. And I'm a Red Raider. Anybody else?
Any other happy news?
Evan?
So I'm really bad about carrying cash, so I'm going to go to the website. I'm going to donate $100 as my punishment for not having cash because I have a really good announcement. So I started a new job at Partners Real Estate in Dallas and brought three of my coworkers. Three of my coworkers. I'm going to try to get them to join as well, so that now they know that. Quinn, Rengen, and Will, really good guys. So we all work together at Partners Real Estate. So I'm happy about it. So I owe you guys $100.
Thanks.
Excellent. Wonderful.
Anybody
We'll
got
take
any
that
other
out of
happy
you.
news? Joys?
Anybody else?
No. It cost you $1.
That's very generous.
And Mark, I'm happy
Okay.
for the new video for National Anthem. That was a big improvement over the one we had last time. We appreciate it. It was good. All right, at this point in time, it's time to introduce any guests that might be here today. Eric jumped the gun. You're good. You already did it.
Yeah.
Any other guest here today? All right, if not, Kathy Wall has got a few words for us.
Well, this is birthday month, so, I have to okay, Mr. President. It's birthday month, so I would love for all the January birthdays to stand up so we can really recognize you. That's an important day of your life, so happy, happy birthday. And don't forget, this is the month that you volunteer and donate some money for a great local foundation, ours. So anyway, thank you very much.
Michelle Brown is up next with our PCR announcement of the week.
Happy New Year, everybody. Today's Marketplace Spotlight is the Black Men Group. The Black Men Group is headed by Chris Blackman, a D-Best designated realtor and recognized top producer in the Dallas Metroplex. Family homes, investment properties, recreational properties, and luxury leases, the Black Men Group handles it all with their deep knowledge of the market. Their shared objective is to serve clients at the highest level of professionalism, enthusiasm, and energy. And whether helping clients with a sale, a purchase, a lease, a relocation, or investment, the Black Men Group operates with the standard that every transaction be a win for their clients. The Black Men Group team aims to situate their clients within communities that fit their needs and goals. Their motto is dwell well, and that is precisely what they help their clients achieve. So thank you, Chris Blackman, for your sponsorship. And if anybody else like these guys over here want to be sponsors, just let me know. All right.
Next up, Nolan Duck to introduce a new member.
Thank you, President Jeff. It's my pleasure to introduce to you this gentleman right here, Jack Carpenter. He is a financial advisor. He's been involved in other organizations, not quite up to snuff with Rotary, but he's coming over to us. So please welcome Jack. He is a great guy. He's a hard worker and someone that you will enjoy knowing. So welcome him today.
Get together and look over here. Oh, thank you. You did it just like you're supposed to.
Jack, welcome on board. We're excited to have you. This is a new member kit. This is a red badge. If you want to get to the permanent badge, you got to go through the list of things in here, and you got to pass a test.
I like challenges, Joe.
No test required.
I think you already know me about that.
Welcome. Thank you very much. We'll have you back for the member speech. Thank you. Yeah.
All right, next up is Happy Franklin with an announcement, followed by Jill Jordan.
Happy New Year. Y'all ready to watch the Mavs? We're going to go see a great game on Sunday, January 22nd at 6:30, the LA Clippers. The tickets are just $35. We would love for y'all to join us. Sign up today. Thank you.
All right, Happy New Year. You all made it through the holiday season, but this is not the big holiday season for our Rotary Club. We all know what the big holiday is for us, right? 4th of July! Okay, so we have a new year, we have a new parade to plan, and we have newbies leading this effort. So Sarah has done such a good job, and she did so much work that she decided she needed 2 people for this year. So yours truly is doing the pre-parade activities, and Alan Wynn, my partner in crime over here, is the day of. And we need your help. So we're calling for volunteers because there's lots of things that we must do before the day of the parade. We've got to send out communications, we've got to get a theme, we've got to have a grand marshal, we need to have a luncheon, we need to raise money, we need to find sponsors, we need to order stuff, so we need volunteers. So if you're interested in working on the parade early, please see either Alan or me. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to recognize Sam Miller. Can you stand? This is crazy to me. Since I'm a young guy, I don't know how anybody could have been a Rotarian for 50 years. 50 years. Sam, thank you for your service. It is amazing, and we love seeing you here. Okay, you might have received an email today for those that were at the holiday party. If you happen to buy a drink using a credit card, for whatever reason, the swipe didn't go through. So this is a real 4-way test opportunity to find out who's going to step forward and pay for their tab. So please see Lori or Mark Casher. They'll take cash, hopefully a credit card, and it works this time. But you know who you are. It was mostly a cash bar, so fortunately the damage wasn't too bad. Okay, at this time, as you know, we do a raffle that we started earlier in this fiscal year. And this raffle, the money is being raised to go to our foundation. So we're going to do a raffle drawing. Kathy's got the tickets. Daniel will do the drawing for us. Great. If your ticket gets drawn, you will draw from the deck of cards. And if you draw the ace of spades, you will earn half of the pot. If you don't get the ace of spades, you get to keep the card as a souvenir. And as the cards are drawn, if they don't win, they're pulled out of the deck, and so each week we have a better opportunity to win. So.
And I just have to announce it. Very generous people. Over $300.
Nice.
Thank you, everybody. And where's our new professor, our new Lisa? She left her. Anyway, she says better than the Texas water.
All right, this week's winners, last 4. Oh my gosh. What's that? 7425 or 7428.
7428.
7428. You can match some. Here, you want to opt this for them. They're concerned.
Oh, he's lying. 7428.
All right, birthday boy Drabinski, I'm going to let you hold the deck of cards. Go deep.
Come on, do it. Oh.
Oh. Queen of Diamonds. All right, so the money rolls forward to next week, and please play next week and hopefully have another opportunity to win. So at this time, I'm going to invite Walt Markham up. He is our chair of the day to introduce our speaker.
It is my honor to introduce to you Dan Roby. Dan and I have known each other 31 years. I was 4, he was 2, okay? Now I have so we know a lot about each other, and by mutual agreement, there's a lot we're not going to say. 2 things I want to share with you before I give you a little bit of his bio. 2 things to know about Daniel. First, he is a person of faith. He comes from a family of faith. His father and mother are super active in our church. His mother's now on staff as one of our ministers. They have held probably every key office in that. Daniel literally grew up in that and grew up in Young Life and Lake Highlands. The second thing I'll tell you about Daniel, when we really got to know each other, he was coming out of 6th grade, and my earliest memory of Daniel is on a mission trip. And we went to San Marcos infinite number of times. We went to West Virginia in the hollers. Anybody remember Hurricane Floyd? We went to Tarboro, North Carolina, and the first year we ripped nasty stuff out. And the next year you were sheetrocking and taping and bedding. We've been to the Navajo Reservation a half a dozen times, down the Lower Rio Grande Valley, both sides of the Mexico border and stuff. So if Daniel ever missed a spring break or a summer mission trip, I do not know about it. So, what's he been up to? Well, he went to Baylor. You got any Baylor people in here? Sorry, Daniel. He got married, has 4 kids. How'd that happen? Professionally, he's CEO of Austin Street Shelter, which is one of the largest emergency shelters for people who are homeless in North Texas. Is the only area emergency shelter that focuses on older homeless population. 2016, Daniel was appointed by Mayor Mike Rollins to participate in the City of Dallas's Commission on Homelessness. This was tasked with analyzing the community's current system of addressing homelessness and comparing it to the best practices of other communities. They delivered a focused set of strategies and recommendations to the city that we're now using. Daniel served as a member of the board of directors of the Metro Dallas Homeless Alliance and as chairs the Homeless Management Information Systems Committee. And he then accepted a role as the executive counsel on the continuum of care and was appointed the liaison for the adult shelter and coordination assessment committees. Under Dan's leadership, Austin Street Shelter has tripled the size of case management and staff, added several innovative programs and services. He and his team at Austin Street Shelter successfully executed a $15 million capital campaign that supported the construction of a 60,000 square foot 24/7 emergency shelter and a daycare center. Opened in June 2022, right in the middle of COVID. Okay. Daniel received the Nonprofit CEO of the Year Award in November of 17 from Center of Nonprofit Management in Dallas. He was selected as the recipient of the Dallas Business Journal's 40 Under 40 in 2018, which honors the top 40 North Texas men and women in business under the age of 40. Most recently in 2017, he received the Pro Ecclesia Medal of Service awarded by the Baylor alumni for a broad contribution to Christian ministry, as well as the Blake Anderson Public Service Award, which is presented by the City of Dallas. Now, am I surprised that he has wound up in a job that is faith-based, centered in service? No. What I am, Daniel, is tremendously proud to know you and to have shared some of the journey that we will not talk about.
All right, I'm going to try to time myself here. Exactly how much time do I need to make sure I cut out at? 30 minutes, okay. And are we going to do a video, or should I just jump right in? You know, okay, great. Let me, yeah, you said you have it? Yeah. Okay, that would be great. Yeah, go ahead. Yes, please.
To the clients of Austin Street, this facility is a gift to each of you from the people of Dallas.
How do we open doors for you that have been closed? At Austin Street Center, our door is open to you. You will be fed, you will be sheltered. From the moment you walk in, it's the big things, but also the little things that can make the difference. Is it more training, more education? Is it a place to lay your head? Is it a chance to see a doctor, to get the medicine you need? Do you want a new job, a better job, or simply a reliable ride? Do you need to wash your clothes? Do you just need a drink of water or a way to get out of the heat or the cold? Do you need someone to listen? A chance for your heart to heal? Does your soul need rest? Together, we will find a plan and a path forward. At Austin Street Center, we operate in hope. We believe in the good that is ahead for you. Together, we can open the doors and help you find your way home.
What a privilege, what an honor it is to address you guys today. I'm really grateful to be here. I'm humbled to be here. Walt, it meant the world for me that you'd be the one that would say something. We've been through so much. You saw so much immaturity, but you were a faithful investor into my life, and I'm eternally grateful for that, and I'm changed because of it. So thank you for your dedication to service. Yeah, excited to talk to you guys about homelessness today. I have got a lot of stuff to throw at you in terms of information about what's happening in Dallas, what's not happening in Dallas. But I also want to make sure that I take time for questions if that's okay. So as we get to the end, I may trail off a little bit and try to see what questions you may have. But as we do that, ultimately, what I need you to know is that, homelessness, it's not a category of people. It is not, what we think of if you close your eyes and try to picture, the last homeless person you saw. Maybe it was somebody who was on the corner, flying a sign. That's just a real small segment of people who experience homelessness. We've got teachers, got stockbrokers, we've got PhDs. We have people from Highland Park. We have people from Lake Highlands. We have people from everywhere. And, the commonality between everyone is essentially people need help. They need hope that something different is possible for their life, and ultimately they really need most is a home. If you don't have a home, you're much more likely to die early. Life expectancy is decades below what it is for the general population. If you're 45 and homeless, you have the health conditions of someone who's 65 and housed. And so, what we really need is the community's help and support, and recognizing that these aren't people who have been shipped here from another state. They're not different from you or I. They're our sons, our daughters, our brothers, or sisters. And ultimately, as a city, I believe we're going to be evaluated by how do we take care of our most vulnerable. So with that, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about kind of what's happening in the world. Austin Street was really pleased in 2022 to serve over 1,800 people in Dallas who experience homelessness. That means, we're touching, the majority, almost, I think it's like one in 4 people who are homeless in the city of Dallas are touched by Austin Street Center's programs. It took 12,000 individual case management sessions, one-on-one meetings with someone who's homeless to be able to help chart them out of a pathway and into a permanent home, which we did for over 420 people in 2022. So there are literally 420 people, actually more than that, that are not homeless as we're sitting today because we found them a home in this past year. So over 400 people secured permanent employment, and it's a lot of work went into that. So maybe I'll start with, how do people become homeless? And we kind of share it in terms of a math equation, but it's not too complicated. So poverty or financial need plus a crisis of some kind minus social support is what makes homelessness. And not everyone who's poor, not everyone who's in financial need ends up on the street. You see people who are double, triple bunked up. I see great partners in the North Texas Food Bank here that serve a very broad group of people. But Austin Street is targeted, right? We're trying to identify the most vulnerable, the people who have financial need, but also experience a crisis of some kind, whether it be a hurricane in some close area, whether that be that their car broke down, whether they went through a divorce, whether they had the mental health break or suffer from an addiction, whatever the crisis is that ultimately leads them to be in need. And then that final step is, even for folks who have been through crisis, even people who have financial need, the question is, if you today were to lose your income, what would you do? Mom, brother, sister, aunt, cousin, friend, who is the person that you could call in the middle of the night and you know that they would answer and say, what do you need? And for the folks that we serve, there's nobody to call. Either everyone that they know are people who are also suffering from extreme poverty, which is often the case. Other times, people are disenfranchised from their family members. But whatever the reason, there isn't that base of support, that group of people that they can call when they're in the crux. Or maybe they've worn all those people out. Everyone's tried to help them and they haven't gotten there. So that's a little bit, for me. I know people from our youth group who are on the streets right now from Highland Park United Methodist Church that are still struggling to find their way. So with that, what do we do to try to address that issue? How do you get somebody from, I don't know which way is up to, I've got my feet under me and I have a permanent home and I know the direction that I'm going? Well, we mentioned those case management sessions earlier, but essentially, we tried to create throughput to make sure that Austin Street is a waypoint to a home. We're not trying to provide, we don't have housing for everybody that needs it, but we do make sure that everyone who comes to us finds the right pathway in order to get out. And the more we can keep that throughput going, the better it is. The best way I have to explain it is, who here has a garden? Anybody have a garden? So you ever have get a kink in your hose? That's what we try to avoid, right? If you have high barriers to shelter, people end up in tents under the street. Or if you don't have high barriers to shelter, but there's no housing available, well, then that becomes a problem, right? So we have a massive affordable housing crisis in Dallas. Many of you guys already know that. Housing rents have gone up over 25% just in the past year and a half alone. So to try to stomach that from somebody who might be on a fixed income, or they may be at the bottom of the workforce where they're not making much better than minimum wage. They're not able to keep pace with that. We have about 3.8 million Texans, which is 30% of all households, of people who are just on the verge of eviction, right? 3.8 million people. That is a number that's hard to wrap your mind around, but it shows you how easy it is to go from I'm struggling in a home to now I'm digging out of a trash can trying to figure out where my next meal is going to come from. And the reality is, it's not okay to sleep under a bridge. It's not okay to have to dig out of the garbage for your next meal. I would like to appeal to us this. Can we at least agree, at a bare minimum, that every person deserves to essentially live another day, that it shouldn't be for your lack of resources that you can't have at least your basic needs met. Are we going to allow in a city like Dallas to say, it's okay to starve in a city like Dallas? It's okay to be required to be out in freezing cold temperatures or burning hot temperatures in the summer without any place to be able to go. When Austin Street opened up its new building, which is about twice the size of our old facility, right across the street, so we're on our same campus. Part of the goal with that is to make sure that we had a building designed around our housing coordination process, so people got all their needs that they had met, whether it was medical care, whether it was housing coordination, whatever was going on, legal. We have all kinds of, literally dozens of partners that come on campus to engage with our folks to make sure that nothing isn't addressed. So whether that's benefits navigation for Social Security income, whether that's food stamps, to be able to come and think to food bank for that, whatever it is that people need, we try to address that. So let's talk a little bit about what are some of the things that Austin Street Center does. I don't know if there are any healthcare people in the room. There was 11,500. We did a study in 2017, 2018, around 11,500 people who were homeless that went through our hospital systems. 11,000. Out of that 11,000 group of people, we had hundreds of folks that were admitted to, that were in the emergency room. About 50% of those were in the emergency department. About 35% were admitted into the hospital. What we were finding is that people come into the hospital and are discharged, and then they come right back, right? So that recidivism happening over and over again. We decided that wasn't okay for us. So Austin Street started a medical respite program in partnership with Texas Health Resources of Dallas. And so we have on-site nursing staff, medical staff, so that people, when they're discharged from the hospital, any hospital, not just Texas Health, but Parkland and Methodist and Baylor, they can be discharged to Austin Street where their medical needs can be taken care of. And while they're with us, we make sure that they're on a journey, that they're on a pathway to end their homelessness. So medical respite is one of the programs that we utilize. We have created a transportation network. We found that folks were using canes, crutches, walkers, and wheelchairs to walk 1.5 miles to the next service provider to be able to get their ID or get something for lunch or whatever it is that they needed. It made literal no sense. So we created a transportation project where a bus literally travels to the 10 most frequented social service providers, and now in one day you can go to the stew pot and get your ID. You can go to Parkland and get your prescription meds. You can go to the bridge for lunch, come back to Austin Street Center in time to lay your head down at the end of the day. Whereas before, each one of those things would have taken an entire day of going through a security system, asking for a bus ticket, waiting to see a staff member, walking 3 blocks to a bus stop, doing 2 or 3 transfers just to get 1.5 miles down the road. And so that's a part of the things where we try to step in where we see that there is a gap in existing care. Unfortunately, because of the affordable housing crisis, there's not just a gap in care, there's increasing care. So we've added over 100 beds to our new facility to make sure that we can serve more people who are in need. But even today, due to the challenge, that the increase in demand and also not adequate resources, we still have people who are waiting. Sometimes months just to be able to see a case manager and begin their journey to their own home. So I'm not going to pull punches. Austin Street needs your support. We need your also your ambassadorship. That homelessness is something that you recognize as an issue in our city and needs to be addressed. We have a special program for women who have been physically or sexually victimized. We have about 60% of women, who are on the streets are going to say, I've been victimized in the past 12 months, while homeless. And so, 17% of a woman who's on the streets, have been raped. Another 17% have been punched or kicked or otherwise experienced physical violence. So think about that. Next time you drive by and you see a woman who's on the streets and you think in your head, man, what am I going to do for that person? They really need to get a job. I'm telling you that the likelihood that they have been raped, that they have been assaulted, that they've experienced all those things just in the past 12 months, not to mention that typically the trauma starts much earlier. There's a lot that people go through before they kind of get to that place. And I just wanted to make sure that I was able to highlight that. Austin Street's also responsible for coordinating inclement weather shelter across the city. So I'm sure many of you guys have seen the growing number of encampments in Dallas. We're kind of interesting in Texas of a tale of two cities. Houston's decreased homelessness by 54%. In that same period of time, Dallas had increased homelessness by like 700%. So there's significant needs and challenges that Dallas has had over the past 4 or 5 years. Now, we're beginning to turn that curve and see that number go back down, and that's really been a series of collaboration that we're having across the city. One of those is inclement weather, knowing that not everyone is going to seek shelter. There are some people who say, I want to be able to use drugs and alcohol. You can't do that in the shelter, right? I want to, whatever it is. But when temperatures get below freezing and you're not going to live through the night, all of a sudden maybe you may be willing when you weren't before. So just in this past, Christmas holiday, as many of you, I'm sure, were sharing gifts with your loved ones. Me and several others were at Austin Street, taking on an additional 700 people on top of the 450 we already have there. So 1,000 folks on campus, opening up other locations at Oak Lawn United Methodist, and we've opened up locations at Fair Park in the past, or opening up locations at the City of Dallas Library. The reality is our problem is ever increasing, as with every major metropolitan area in the country, and Dallas gets to choose what type of community we want to be. Because many people are moving here from other areas, maybe East and West Coast, and oftentimes the problem there is worse, right? So I'm telling you that at any given point in time, there's 4,500 people on the streets in Dallas, but you go to Los Angeles and it's 50,000. Right, so it just kind of gives you an idea for what we have, as a community. So that's what we are faced with. This is how we respond to it. I could talk on and on for this forever, but I've got 12 minutes left, and I want to make sure that we can address every question, and I always typically get lots of questions. So I'll take a brief pause here and see what questions. Oh, there's a portable mic. All right.
Yeah, just a question. Okay. Thank you for what you're doing. My church is First United Methodist Church of Capel, and I've been there over 30 years. We've done a lot with Austin Street Shelter. Mm-hmm. That's my question. Is Austin Street Center the same as Austin Street Shelter? If so, it sounds like you've evolved to become a center, not just shelter. Am I right?
Jack, I appreciate that soft layup. Yes, you're absolutely right. So Austin Street Shelters, our original name, changed to Austin Street Center because of the array of services. It's not just about putting a roof over somebody's head. That's a start, but really we want to begin people on the journey to end their homelessness, and that requires the array of services that you saw, in our video. So thank you, and thank you for the faithful Saturday morning volunteers that are there to serve breakfast. I don't know what I'd do without FUMC Capel.
I appreciate what you're doing, clearly. I first learned about this years ago from the Normathon.
Yeah.
And I love that every year, and I always try to win a car. Didn't this year. But you mentioned the example of a single woman on the street. Why doesn't she get a job? And in the economy we're in, with all the job needs out there, even primarily at the lower level wages and such, how do y'all manage that? Clearly addictions and other problems and just not having a home and things, but is there a greater happening that's causing this growth that you can get into deeper, maybe as to what's happening here in Dallas?
Yeah.
Other parts of the country?
Yeah, well, the greatest driver, you can pretty much look at, the rise in property values in any city across the country and benchmark that against your increase in homelessness, and they almost always mirror each other, and Dallas is no different. So now, I'm not going to say that doesn't mean that there aren't massive things that you can do, in order to address that, and some of those are being done in Dallas. Huge appreciation for an initiative that's kind of across the city. The county's involved, the city's involved, Housing Forward, our continuum of care agency is involved. We're working to get more people in their own home, and Austin Street's probably the largest participant of that program, called the Dallas Real-Time Rapid Rehousing Program. But that's really just one solution for one group of people. The problem is vast. Think about your apartment complex. Okay, the last apartment complex that you visited, went to, or stopped by or saw, is there a category of people in that complex? I mean, you got people that have done all different kinds of things, have all different kinds of backgrounds, grew up in all different kinds of places, and homelessness is no different. If I try to look in this room and try to say, I'm going to address you based upon your housing situation, right? So if you live in a condo, I'm going to call you a condo dweller. Or if you own a 2-story home, I'm going to call you a 2-story. If you own a mansion, I'll say, mansion owner, it's a pleasure to meet you. But we don't do this for anybody else, for people who have no home. You know, we label them as if this is who you are as a human being, you are homeless. And what I'm here to tell you is that that is not who they are. That's the circumstance that they find themselves in based upon what's happened in the community and the needs that they didn't ask for. Sorry,
Hey, Dan.
I can be weighty, so I don't mean to be. Yeah.
Hey, Dan, thanks for being here. I know your parents.
Yeah.
They're so proud of you, I'm certain. Hey, my question is, it's no secret, it's an ongoing competition between Dallas and Houston. So what caught my ear is, how did Houston reduce their homeless population so dramatically?
Well, we're taking a lot from Houston's playbook. I know Dallas likes to be innovative, and we are in some things, but we're also trying to catch up in other areas. So I'll say Houston has a few things going for them. The strong mayor system does allow, for the mayor to just be able to say, this is the way it is, this is what we're going to do, where we have to do the really hard work of kind of coalition building and trying to get everybody aligned on the same page, and that can be that can slow things down a bit. But we even brought in some consultants, not Austin Street, but the Dallas as a whole, and several foundations have been supporting of this that have helped bring Houston's playbook to see how we can improve in Dallas, and we're working on it. The first part was to increase what's called rapid rehousing, which is a decreasing subsidy model, or at least that's how Austin Street Center does it, for people who need their own place to live. And what it means is, hey, we're going to put you into a place, and then we're going to make sure we provide the wraparound services that you need so you can sustain it. Now, it's certainly a challenge. It's not successful for everyone. Sometimes we put the wrong people in that program, and if you've got significant disabilities and you're not going to be able to pull it together in 6 to 12 months, it's probably not the right program for you. And that's been the challenge, is we've been putting people that have really much higher vulnerabilities than they should into that program because it's the tool that we have. So what does that mean? Dallas needs to increase its permanent supportive housing number of units, and that's basically, units for people who are disabled, maybe have a mental health condition, aren't able to work, and they're going to need long-term support. So the biggest increase in homelessness in Dallas has been chronic homelessness. People who have been homeless for a year or longer. And so the challenge that we have right now is, how do we get some of these older folks, and we have a lot of people who, very limited income, a lot of baby boomers right now, who are on the streets. They find them, they were not able to save for retirement. They find themselves to be homeless, and so we're struggling with that population. They end up being homeless longer. The older you are, the harder it is for us to find a place for you. The younger, the quicker you move out.
Daniel, thank you for what you do. What do you do if you're faced with a homeless person? What's the best thing you can do to help that person out? And the other question is, what are local politicians doing about affordable housing here in Dallas?
Yeah. Great comments all around. What do you do if you engage, if you see someone who's homeless and on the streets, what do you do when you pass by? Well, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I will share with you, what I do. And everyone's comfort level is going to be a little bit different. I get to cheat a little bit because I have a business card I can give them, and they can call me, and then I'll follow up with them. I have a place to direct them to. But I'm going to tell you a brief story about what you should do, and it's the story of the Good Samaritan. If you're familiar with the story of the Good Samaritan, there was somebody who was robbed on the side of the road. One person passed by, I wasn't able to help them. The second person passed by, chose not to help them. But the third person, the Samaritan, the one who shouldn't have been the one to help them, was the one who did. And what did he do? He picked him up, put him on his horse, and he took him down, to a hotel, and he made sure the innkeeper knew to take care of him. And then he came back later and made sure to pay the bill. So what does that mean, and what am I asking you to do? What I'm here to say is, the story of the Good Samaritan says that we're going to do a couple different things. One is, we're not going to walk by. We're not going to do nothing. The second thing is, to the extent that you can, try to connect people, right, to the place where they can get help. In this case, it was the inn. So, and let me encourage everyone, austinstreet.org, you can also, call, there's a phone number on our website. The phone rings off the hook all day long with people who need help. Please direct people to that location at 1717 Jeffries and to that phone number, which I don't have off the top of my head. It's 4217 something. I'll get it for you in a second. But and then what's the last thing he did, right? He didn't walk by. He made sure to take him to the inn. And the last thing is came back and paid the innkeeper. So I'm going to be selfish for a minute. And that is to say, you need to direct them to the place that needs help, and then you need to make sure that place can continue to provide help. And so what Austin Street needs is to continue to make sure that we're able to keep our doors open, because we have a great, big, beautiful new building, but what we don't have is adequate case management staff to be able to make sure that people don't have to wait 2 months before they can begin the process of getting back into their own place. So that's what I would say. I realize it was a little bit selfish. I'd say this, at minimum, make sure that you make eye contact and that you smile. You do not know how many people have come to our doors and said, you know, I was really about to give up. I thought I may just end my life, but you know, this really nice person stopped by. And something about the way that they smiled, something about the way that they said hello to me made me think, you know, maybe I'll give it one last shot. And so it does make a difference when you're ignored all day long to be able to stop and make that connection. Now, please be safe, right? Every situation is different. I load up people in the car with my kids and take them to church. I mean, that's what I do. But my comfort level is a little different, and I do want to make sure that you're safe.
This is a little bit going to tag on to what you were saying. I'm a little bit curious because a couple of years ago, two of our Dallas City people had a meeting with two homeowners associations about this very situation, because there's so many people that are at traffic lights when we stop at traffic lights, and they said, and they brought people from Dallas that worked with homeless people, and they said, don't just give them money. They need a lot more help than that, and they may just take that money and go buy alcohol with it, which they don't need. So they said, don't do that. If you see it on a regular basis, contact us. We can get the people out there and can get them help. And I'm just curious how that really happens. Do they bring them to you? Is there someplace else? Because they obviously need more help than $5 that you could hand them. That's
Absolutely.
How much is that really going to do for them?
Yeah, the $5, you know, it's not going to change your situation. But I'll maybe gently reframe some of what you're saying. You don't really have to do this, but if I ask you to raise your hand if you've had alcohol in the past 12 months, how many would raise their hand? Here's the reason why I'm asking, right? So many times we're like, well, I don't, you know, God forbid, you know, but at the same time, well, that's not a standard we really set for ourselves. So it's interesting that we have a standard that's different for someone who's homeless, who is in a greater crisis, who's struggling more than we are with their circumstances about their moral behavior. Now, here's what I would say to that. Number one thing that there's studies that have been done. Number one thing that people buy when they're on the streets and you give them money is food. The number two thing is alcohol. So you're not wrong, right, that there is a lot of people that use the money for that, and it doesn't help their situation. So what I would say is, again, direct people to the resources where people can help. But you brought up something else which ties into what you were talking about, which is, you know, what is the city doing? What about city council? What about neighborhoods? And here's what I'd say, and this is hard to stomach. It's, you know, it's hard for everyone. But the reality is, our choice to not want multifamily communities or low-income communities close to where we live is keeping people on the streets. And I wish I didn't have to say that. I wish I could find something different to be able to say. But the truth of the matter is, it's not even necessarily the politicians that are keeping this from being able to move forward. It is the neighborhood when the next project wants to get developed. Now, you know, every community is different. Their needs are different. Safety, you know, to be addressed and all those things. But I think we should take a real hard look about, you know, what are the safety concerns that happen, you know, in low-income communities, and how does that change neighborhoods before we pass judgment about what our fears are, to think about what is it actually like. And I'll give you an example. I went to one of these events in my own neighborhood. So there was a housing project that was being recommended in my neighborhood. And but I did something a little bit different because I knew kind of where it was going to go. I just loaded up a van of people from Austin Street and I brought them with me. Now what they saw was a lot of people really upset. And the concern is people's criminal background. But the interesting thing about that is I had half a dozen people with me. And so when I was able to share with them, hey, all these people are on the housing list to move into this community if that something is raised. That is my time. So if you're concerned about safety or want to know if they're going to keep you safe, then go ahead and ask them. And what you find is that people aren't quite as scary as we think they are, just because that they may look different, smell different, or have a different background. So, okay. Thank you, guys. Appreciate your time.
Daniel, thank you for being here today. We always put a book in your honor at the McShann Elementary Library for you speaking today.
Thank you.
We really appreciate you being here today.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks.
And my kids appreciate it.
So for those of you who don't know, or just recall, we did our first foot care clinic for the homeless in November, late November. Eric's shaking his head, and thanks to Eric, his contact with Shields, they donated shoes and socks. And Holly did a fantastic job. She's not here, but she got nurses involved. So nurses were there to clean their feet, and then we were able to provide them with new shoes and socks. You know, and I was thinking, because I was handing out the shoes and the socks, I was thinking, okay, my initial thought is, oh, they all have mental problems, right? That's kind of why they're homeless. But I was shocked at how many of them say, oh, those shoes will be great for my job. So these aren't all people that are just mental, you know, having issues, because a lot of them are. I was shocked to hear these guys saying, those shoes would be great for my job. So they're just people that have less than and need help. And your new facility is phenomenal. It is a beautiful place. I was shocked because I'd been to the old place before and then had to be skirted around to the new place, and I was just kind of blown away. It was a really great place. So again, thanks for what you do. So next week, be here. Bring all your baseball fans. The Texas Rangers will be here. Eric Heitkamp will be our chairperson of the day. And for those of you who don't follow it like I do, they have done an amazing job in this offseason. They've got 5 brand new pitchers, starting pitchers that are like all-star guys. I'm excited. I think they're going to actually have a good team. So it's a great opportunity to bring guests, and please show up. So Jack Carpenter, please lead us in the 4-way test to close us out. Come on.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm honored to lead you in the 4-way test. I will say it reminds me a lot of Boy Scouts, Scout Oath, and Scout Law. So once again, I'm very honored to be a new member of this outstanding organization. Please recite with me. Of the things we think, say, or do, first, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Jack, there you go. All right,